Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the MuscleMind podcast. I'm joined today with Cody Robinson, looking sexy as ever. Today, this is our 16th episode.
It is.
Are you proud?
I'm super proud, especially when less than 6 months ago, the dream was to have a podcast.
Hey, that's right. Now we
go.
just get to talk about a bunch of crap.
Maybe literally one of these days.
Maybe literally. Hey, I want to do a sports one personally, but anyway.
Sports what?
This is a sports podcast.
This general sport? Oh, about sports.
Yeah, about
That's
sports.
how much you love sports. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would not. My wife would be a whole lot better at that
Really?
than me.
I would love to do
She's
it.
the one that somebody talks about a pro player. I'm like, who does he play for?
Really?
She always knows.
What?
Yeah.
That's disappointing, man.
I can train athletes. I know the sport. I know a lot of players.
You don't keep up with
But
it.
I'm not going to. Yeah, I couldn't tell you. I don't even really know what a spread is.
A what?
A spread as far as gambling on sports and stuff. I'm not.
Man, we need to.
I'm sorry, I just let you down.
You just let me down. That's all right. But I always thought doing like a Monday podcast, recapping. Anyway,
Do it. Okay.
80% of all New Year's resolutions fall off within 6 weeks.
6 weeks. We are at week 5.
We're at year 5. Yep.
Week 5.
We're at week 5.
Golly. Make fun of Cody podcast.
Yeah,
okay,
man.
that's okay.
We're getting into the. Well, I guess it'd be the 5th week.
It's about to be So, into the first month. So it's about that time. So
By the time they hear it, it'll be 6 weeks.
right. So hopefully you're not somebody that started to pull off and was all gangbusters the first few weeks, and now you're really starting to kind of taper from your gym commitment, your training, your eating correctly, or maybe you did Whole30 and de-cleanse. Now you're ready to eat them donuts.
That's
and
right.
bounce
You gained
right
10
out of it.
pounds in February.
Yeah. So we just want to cover that. It's a trend that's here. We kind of wanted to bring it a reality. Almost like one of the things that people know that it's about to happen, and hopefully our conversation can help prevent you from falling into that category.
I think the whole New Year's resolution is a trend in itself, and then it almost feels immediately it switches into falling off your New Year's resolutions.
Right.
It's being like a trend, like people are talking about it on social media, and I'm going to do this for the New Year's, and then after New Year's and after everybody parties for a couple of days and starts doing it for a week, it's just...
It's funny. I love it when you bring up topics. It's crazy that I study behavior and think about behavior all the time, but I never thought about it as it being just another talking point for people, especially on social media.
That's what it is.
I mean, it's where all the hashtags come from.
That's what it
New
is.
Year's, 2019.
The social media legitimately impacts, I think, a lot of how the human behavior is.
I completely agree. And it supports it too, or it also hinders it. But I really didn't think about it being, because we see the trend, like from a fitness setting, you see the ramp and then you kind of fall off and then you'll see it ramp up again right before, depending on the age group, spring break, for college age or whatever. And then for summer, everybody else starts to do it and they taper in the summer and they come back up when school's back in session. So these ups, peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
But here we are at the first dip, and we really wanted to address it. But yeah, that's cool. I didn't really think about it from the aspect of now everybody gets to brag about, I'm glad that was over.
Well, you even look at social media, how it kind of, I don't want to say manipulates, but you're going to start seeing a lot of couple goals things and people.
Yeah. Things.
Because it's new, because it's coming up on the whole Valentine's deal.
That's
so
true.
They're putting that in people's heads, and I think now the whole. I really saw it. It kind of switched from doing all the New Year's, and then boom, all of a sudden, it's you see memes about, well, I had a piece of bread, so there goes my New Year's resolution. Whatever. It's almost like instantaneous.
And then you got the other ones that's sitting there in their soft shorts or pants or yoga pants and looking at everybody else that's apparently dominating their New Year's resolutions.
Oh, that's right. And most people are not.
They doctor up this nice fitness bowl, or not fitness bowl, but food bowl or whatever, and then,
I've never been a huge fan.
2 feet over, you got your thing of donuts.
Yeah, a couple
donuts. It's so much of it's a facade.
I've never been a huge fan of New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, well, we live it. I mean, it's always an up and down struggle for us anyway. So
oh yeah.
But I get what you mean.
But I think it's up and down struggle for everyone.
Right.
And I think a lot of people get super discouraged, and it messes their whole year up.
Yeah.
They feel like, it's February and I haven't started any of my New Year's resolutions, or I fell off, then the whole year's a waste.
Yeah.
And I think that does hit people a lot harder than most realize.
It's because you come out fresh and that's true. And if you have a lofty goal or it's the first, man, I had some other stats on this one that I wrote down because it talked about how it's like 80% of all Americans establish New Year's resolution, and like I can't remember the exact, but anyway, basically they've done the same New Year's resolution for the past 10 years.
Yeah, it's great, and most of them have to do with health.
Right. Yeah. It's just crazy how it's that short window. So I think what we want to kind of talk about too, though, is not just the fact that okay, it's here, it's happening, but why does it happen? Other than just the swing of the potential social influence or whatever, and that's just the trend. Mm-hmm. I think we can go a lot deeper in it. For me, what I usually see, and correct me if you see something different or you think it's wrong, but from what I have seen is, people come out of the gate too hard. Ooh. Like their plan is too aggressive. The goals are too lofty for a 1 month. Now, if you stretch it out over a few months and allow your body to adapt, that's one thing. But a lot of people will go into it. They'll go from no fitness or workouts to 3 to 5 days a week. Then they're cutting calories at the same time. So
you're going to burn yourself out.
So you can lead to injury. Like you're overtraining. You're not letting your body adapt. You're cutting your calories while you're also expending calories, so you're going to be in a major deficit. Yeah. So you're not going
to lose any weight.
You're not going to lose any weight because that's
sustainable.
That's a really good point. So we can kind of hang up on that for a little bit if you want to in a second. And then two, mentally, if you don't have the if you're draining your calories plus inhibiting your calorie intake, your caloric intake, then mentally you're going to be defeated. Right. Because your brain needs food, and if you're emotionally drained and you're hating it by the time you've gotten into a couple weeks, especially the third or fourth week, I see people come in with like muscle soreness because they've overdone it and they don't allow the body to recover. Shin splints for people that think they have to run 5 miles a day when they haven't ran in the past 11 months.
Sure.
Anyway, what do you think about where we're going?
What really highlighted me was the whole mental state. I think a lot. That's what I pay attention the most with my clients is their mental state, kind of their mental wellness and health, because that can transfer automatically over to any kind of situation. If their New Year's resolution goal was to run, 10 miles a week, but you look at their mental state and they're like, well, I missed a few days, but it's okay. That's a good mental state about kind of where your New Year's
Yeah.
But if they're like, oh, I haven't ran at all. It's just, I don't even want to do this anymore.
Yeah,
it's a switch in mental state.
That's an all or nothing capacity. It's not good for anybody. I mean, you got to be able to give yourself a little bit of credit. The fact that you're already in there, And then I would say too, this might be a good time. Well, to kind of revisit. You did your 6-8 minute whatever right at the beginning of the year talking about your
12-week battle plan.
12
and I've done it, and it's been successful.
You don't got to revisit the whole thing. But like a plan like that, if you want to kind of like at least recap the quick structure of it, if you want to.
Sure, it's just basically picking one thing and attacking it over the next 3 months.
Right.
That's it. Yeah. It's picking one thing from your health, your relationships, your career. I think it was one more, but you just pick one thing and you focus on just solely that, and don't make it so extraordinarily huge, because essentially what you can create is 4 12-week battle plans throughout the year.
Right. And it's like, what are your next steps toward that? Not completely overhauling all at one time. It's like, what's the one thing that you can do this month or today?
And one of the main ones was if you want to start running, instead of making some stupid goal, if you're going to run 10 miles a week, just say you're going to run 5 minutes a day.
Right.
For the next 12 weeks.
It's true.
I mean, you can if you go run, more than likely, you're going to be able to go run 5 minutes pretty easily.
Sure.
Most of the time, you're going to go over 5. So anything you run over 5 minutes is a success. You're doing more than what you told yourself that you had to do.
Right.
It's just real simple things like that.
But you have to take the time to plan it and write it down. Sure. And it's going to be, because if you just throw it out there, like most people do, it's not going to stick. And then I had the kind of the follow-up of the, designing your year, and the way that you really kind of design where you want to go is by actually stepping into the shoes of how do you want to feel. Like, let's say if you do want to lose 10 pounds, or if you want to eventually run 10 miles a week, but your goal is to do 5 minutes a day. Think about once you achieve that goal, how are you going to feel? Sure. How are you mentally going to feel? How confident are you going to feel?
What's going to be next?
What's going to be next once you get there? And that's the funnest part that I've never really thought about doing until this past year. I've learned a lot more about personal growth and professional growth, and most people they may go that far, but then go as far as like, okay, imagine yourself that you've lost your 15 pounds, that you're hitting your between 5 to 10 mile, per week run goal or whatever. So you're at this new state, and a lot of people aren't prepared for the then what.
Yeah.
And that could be when people are falling off
and
right
you get
now
lost.
too. So you get lost. So take the time to think now, okay, you've reached that status, what does it feel like? Where are you at? Like, how are you handling life? And then if you were at that state now, what would be your next goals past that?
Yeah.
And you start to kind of...
Well, it's kind of like working backwards.
Right. And Linda's a big proponent of that.
Yeah, it's like you start at your 5-year goal, then you break it down to your year goal, then quarterly, monthly, then daily. It's like working. It's almost like you go ahead and write out what your 5-year plan is.
Sure.
Now you figure out step by step how you, instead of doing like starting at the beginning, like step 1 to step 50, go ahead and start at 50.
Yeah.
And just work it on its way back. It's kind of the same way.
Yeah. And if you don't put an emotional tie with it, or a really deep thought process, it's just going to be another number on a paper for another year.
So true, especially if I want to lose weight.
Yeah. Or, I would say too, think of how that goal is going to benefit like the rest of your life. I mean, to me, I'm all about like a ripple effect is what I usually say. If I can pick that kind of goal, if say I get my fitness going, there's this confidence level that's going to be there, so it's probably going to bleed in over to my successes of improved relationship status or improved work status or that type of stuff. So sometimes just having one, now what you said, having one action that you can take for that, that time frame, that's one thing. But just having one particular, this is what I'm going to do.
Sure. There's
too many other things in your life that has a chance to kind of overcrowd it. That's why you have to think of the different segments of your life to really make it more worthwhile.
And I think that could be what happens to a lot of people's New Year's resolutions too, is everything else in their life suffers, so they stop.
Sure.
Because they're so hyper-focused or micro-focused on whatever it is that they're doing.
That's a good point.
If you want to exercise more, but you realize by exercising more when you get off work, you're sacrificing time spent with your family.
That's what I was going to say.
And then you didn't kind of plan that out or look at that from that angle, or maybe your husband was like, it's like, I need you home, like you need help.
Right.
I don't want you going to the gym, and then maybe that caused problems in your relationships you didn't really see, or kind of work that out in your head from that angle.
And you're not going to let that. You shouldn't. You're not going to let that suffer. But I mean, that's a big part of it.
It very well could be.
So then you pull out because you're like, I gotta go eat dinner, or I gotta do this, or that could be an excuse for some people too.
Very much.
It's so. Like, oh, my husband or my wife needs me home, so I can't go to the gym anymore. So those are those components. It's just, I do think there's a lot of kind of short-sightedness for one. For two, like you said, not really preparing or thinking of all the other segments of your life that it can interfere with.
Absolutely.
I think especially mentally. I think especially if you're restricting yourself so much and you're adding, even though it's considered eustress or positive stress for fitness, you're still adding stressors to your life, and your body don't necessarily know how to handle that kind of
freaking out.
Major overload.
Sure.
So then you mentally get discouraged and that type of stuff. I started reading another book. You'll hear me say started reading another book a lot of times.
Read a lot of
I've
books.
started finishing books now this
Have
year,
you?
though. That's my goal. Yeah.
Good.
But it's called Willpower Doesn't Work. It's a phenomenal book. It talks about your environment, because your body, your mental capacity, you only have so much true willpower. To be able to just overcome something, or because even if you expend it on one thing, whether it's not eating this food, then you're not going to be able to use it. It's very short-sighted. But really what he talks about in this book is about your environments, like what you allow kind of to be around you. So like stressors at home, like clothes and stuff, it's kind of piled up, or the wrong kind of food just because it's there. Not only is the temptation there, but like it's still like a mental stress. But if it's not even there, it doesn't even stress you.
Right.
But then like some people can go to the point of like fitness, if they're struggling or they're trying to keep consistency. There's a chance that you probably were meal prepping. The first 3 to 4 weeks of January. You probably were setting out your shoes, getting your gym bag was probably out there, or whatever. Or in your car, so you knew that there's a heightened chance that you're going to go work out as soon as you're done with work. You had to sit down and talk with your family. It says, look, don't bring this crap into the house, because it don't need to be in there, because I'm trying to reach my goal. And then life hits in, and then it's like before you know it, one of these little habits kind of fall off.
Why do you think people do that?
Why do you think people do that?
Man, that's such a... I was hoping you had that answer.
I know, but I mean, it is a very valid question.
But why do you think people are so gung-ho to like establish everything you just did?
Well, I'm gonna go as far as saying it, and they also cover in this book, and because I have a morning routine, a morning ritual now. For years, I was like, I don't even like the concept of routine. I feel like it's gonna make me feel boxed in. I was far from the truth in that. Exact opposite, because I have I get up, I do read this, read devotional stuff. I actually journal. We spend about 15 minutes doing that, just writing kind of where am I at. A lot of gratitude that I do, and it actually prepares me for the day and actually has me think. I think the reason people falter is because they have that initial thought, but it's not a full behavior change, and so they don't have those types of strategic map outs every day. They become reactive.
Sure.
The year kind of kicks up and they become reactive to the day. So kids might be pulling them one way. Job is kind of getting harder. I don't know. I
think it's people are weak.
You just wanted to throw that out there.
No, I did just kind of. I think people are weak. I think people make excuses and they're weak.
Well, let me go as far as before, because I get where you're coming from. I would say the weakness can actually be changed by establishing these, creating the better environments for yourself. So I'm not going to let saying people would be weak to be a cop-out. It's almost to the point of when I was doing one research study, it's called the Tiger study, and they studied the FTO gene, which is your what they call the fat gene. And basically, if this particular gene is activated in your body, you actually have a less desire to work out. Even if you establish a habit,
Sure.
There's just there's a harder battle for people. What was interesting though is versus people that in the study that learned that this was active in them, rather than them saying, "Oh, I'm just genetically lazy," it actually allowed them to take the burden off of themselves and be like, "Okay, there's something I actually got to overcome."
Sure.
And so then they actually started achieving these crazy landmark goals. So I feel like you got some manipulation you really want to go in.
No. What do you mean?
Well, because you just straight out said people were weak. I mean,
well, it can.
I understand that, but I mean the concept of the podcast is to try and give somebody some how to overcome that.
No, I get that, but I think just for me coming from my own personal experience.
Sure.
If let's say I set a goal to I want to start eating better and I want to meal prep, and if I could meal prep for 3 weeks in a row. And then Sunday comes on that 4th week, and I'm like, I really don't feel like it, and I don't meal prep, and I could fall off that week.
Sure.
There's no other reason that happens,
right?
Other than I'm being lazy.
Well, that's true.
And I just didn't do it.
Aside from that, though, is that a natural habit that you were born with, or structuring your life, things that you've chosen to do?
How many people have that? How many people suffer from that particular deal that you're talking about?
Which one? The food prepping, or
no, the one where you
the genetic component?
Not that many.
There's a lot more. Yeah, there's a lot more than you think. But I'm not giving a genetic cop out either, because I'm not a huge fan of that.
Right.
Because
a majority of people, I think, are very weak-minded. I think they're not. I think they're weak-minded on it.
Sure.
But this is why I say that is because they can do the same. They can watch their favorite TV shows every damn night and not going to miss them.
Here you go.
But it's true though. They can get up and go to Starbucks every morning.
That's true.
And not miss that, or be late for work. I think it's choices.
Yeah.
I think it's just not being mentally strong to kind of bring it all together to change what they prioritize, and I think it's being lazy. That's from my personal experience.
That makes sense. And I mean, again, you know me, I kind of went into nice mode there.
No, it doesn't bother me, man.
But I mean, the whole reason we wanted to have this podcast is to have some days have these kind of things. But as you were saying that, I was thinking to the component of what's the biggest thing you say all the time, and is be true to yourself.
Sure.
And maybe by us saying this is really making you kind of think and actually see those other. You made a really good point. I mean, it's been 4 hours watching Netflix. I watch Netflix all the time. When I watch my shows, I'm usually sweating. I'm like sweating. I actually watch stuff when I'm working out.
Oh, really? Yeah. Good.
Other people listen to. I mean, I'll work out longer the longer the show is. So I'm just saying, there's ways you can change.
Right, and there is ways you can change that. But I think it's. I think by and large, I don't know. People might not like me saying this. I think by and large, people are very weak-minded towards things that they know are difficult.
That's true.
So
because the human body is its natural inclination is to do what's comfortable, to do what's safe, and to preserve itself.
Right. Then you have people like David Goggins,
yeah,
who's like, if it's hard, I want to do it. Jocko Willink, if it's tough, good.
I mean, Tim Ferriss is like, I'm going to pick something, I'm going to do it for like a month or whatever, and it's like going to be the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, and you got some people like that. I think it's more of a mental. I think it all kind of wraps around mental. Just being
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. Mentally strong. I think people are weak, but I think they're weak because they're scared to kind of fail at something.
Sure.
Or like if your goal is to set out and you're going to start working out more. You know, I talked with a client today. She's got a friend who's very overweight. She goes to the gym at 2 a.m. because she doesn't want to see anybody. Mm-hmm. As opposed to being like, to hell, who cares? Because ultimately people don't care.
That's the truth too. Actually, that's another thing I used to think about. People feel like everybody's watching them, and they're really not. They're not. Like, everybody's concerned about yourself, right, thinking that each other's looking at each other, and they're not.
Right. People don't.
I called that. I actually coined it, and I've never found it like phantom audience.
It is like a phantom audience.
That's what I've actually.
People, and I think it's just been, I think making that switch in your brain, like being mentally tough to where understanding, that this is what you want to do. This is how you have to stabilize it. And this you have to do it. You just have to put a plan and take out the things that you don't want to do. Because if anyone can make a New Year's resolution to start exercising more, and 100% of those people could do that.
Right. Well, it's like back to Michael Hyatt. He established. You've heard of SMART goals, but he kind of reestablished it. Makes a lot more sense as far as like smarter goals, and like the R. A lot of people talk about it being like relevant to what you're trying to achieve. He changed it to risky.
Sure.
Because if it's something, there's actually, I wish I had done a little more research on this one, because there's like different zones that you want to be in order to push yourself past a limit or a capacity that you want to not only do you want to achieve, but like you want to gangbusters achieve.
Yeah.
And that's what we're about. We want to try and empower people to do that. So I'm really glad that you were like, people are weak.
Sure.
Because there's the comfort. Because there's the thing. He said there's 3 zones. There's the comfort zone, which is where most people reside. There's like the risky zone, which is, on the edge. It's going to be a challenge. It's just pretty lofty. But then there's like this, not astronomical, but it's like what do you call it? It's way far out of your reach. It's just almost impossible for you to do. It's just so lofty. And he talks about how in order to make those great gains, like you really need to have that like go just before it's like too crazy and then back to risky. So what's going to be so almost like just crazy unachievable for you, and then drop it down a couple.
Drop it down just a little bit,
and then that's
setting your standard,
right?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just putting. It's just look at guys in like pro basketball, LeBron James. Mm-hmm. You know how risky it was for him to go back to LA.
Yeah,
huge. And that dude's got so much pressure and all that kind of stuff.
I do know who he is.
You do? There you go. You didn't know who he was, man.
I'm getting go.
Push stop. We're gonna have to do a little lesson.
No, I know, but yeah,
but he's got so much pressure.
Right.
But I think guys are just have a mental toughness about them.
Sure.
David Goggins is a great. Tim Ferriss is a great example.
Yeah.
I think his name's Matt Greenfield. He has an awesome podcast on fitness. That dude, he'll find the hardest shit he could possibly do.
Yeah.
And he'll just go do it.
Yeah. And there's usually there's usually something that's kind of led them to do that. It's like some kind of major failure in life, or they've hit rock bottom, or some kind of accident happened, or somebody died. It's usually some kind of, and that's what
it's mental.
It is mental, but at the same time, I'm really so big on like prevention and trying to get ahead of that stuff. Mm-hmm. That's why if you read those people, that's why they have their platforms, because they really want people to start making the changes without having to wait on a traumatic event to happen.
Right.
So that's what I was going to say a second ago, as a good segue for me, not to change out of it, but as you're listening, as you're watching, I encourage you take a second, kind of think through your life. What are some areas that you would consider yourself to be weak in? Don't beat up on yourself.
And don't lie to yourself.
And don't lie. Be true to yourself, obviously. So don't say you're pretty good at it if you really know that you're not. Take the time to do that. And again, don't beat up on yourself, but think about what would a risky But achievable goal will be for you, and what are the first steps that you can take like today to start making those changes? And if you don't know, find a friend, find somebody, bring it up to them. I mean, just talk. You talk to somebody. I mean, you got to be able to share this stuff with people. So, yeah. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
Well, you're talking about like being weak in certain being weak in certain areas of your life. I think a lot of mine was time management.
Yeah, that's huge for a lot of people.
Yeah,
I'd say most people.
And I'm weak at it. But you can either be like, okay, I'm weak at it, or keep making excuses and all this, et cetera, and complain about not having time during the day to do this and that. But yet, you know, you eliminate things that you know are time wasters for you, and you figure out the best thing to do. That's being mentally tough.
Right.
To be true to yourself and understand kind of where that line is for you.
When you said earlier, when you're talking about, initially said when that people are weak, my brain automatically went to what I've thought for years, and it's denial. Like, we live in a world of denial, so like it's like you choose not to address the most important things in your life that need to be changed.
Yeah, you put them on a back.
And that's why the weakness is. To me, that's where the weakness comes.
That can it can drastically affect your day-to-day ability to perform. If you're taking all these things that you're trying to avoid and you're just shoving them in the back of your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, but your brain is going to bring it up every now and then.
Right.
And that could be a trigger for you to be lazy, to be weak, to be like, oh, I don't want to go out of the house because we got so-and-so looming and I don't really want to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, that comes back to the environment shift. I mean, I know that sounds a little bit kind of beginning. It's like, oh, you know, because there's that new show on Netflix that everybody's watching 4 hours a night right now. Anyway.
Ted Bundy? Ted Bundy?
No.
Oh, my God.
No.
I could do... Man, you get me going about
I'm talking
that
about
dude,
the
man.
lady that's doing like all this like cleaning overhauls. Like, it's this big thing now. It's like they're completely changing your layout of your house. It's like decluttering your house.
Okay.
So you have a bunch of junk. So you were just talking about like examples of like it's still in the back of your mind. It's like clothes that are in the closet you hadn't wore for 6 weeks or 60 days or whatever. Like, it needs to be gone. You know, if the
that past due
if the
bill.
Netflix I could attack it.
Yeah, I mean, it could root that, but I think that people really underlie or don't put as much emphasis on things, especially pertaining to their health and like their mental health and even their exercise and stuff.
Right.
That bill that you're letting just trying to not pay it, like trying to not.
Yeah, denial gets you nowhere. It piles up on you,
cool.
and it's like even talking about like the Netflix. If Netflix really is a problem, there's a couple things you can do. One, you could straight go cold turkey, cut it off, don't even do it. A lot of people cut cable because they don't want the distractions. But you can also create things to almost like automate. This was a good in like this Michael Hyatt always says, like, use things as an experiment. Try it for 30 days and see if you can kind of change it. Don't feel like you got to change your entire behavior right now, but try it out. But like for me, for automation, so like a lot of people don't go to bed early, but that's usually one of the biggest things, the most important things you do. Last night for me was not a good example for this, but I've gotten a lot better at it. But what I've done is there's two things. So my phone, I've set it, the bedtime app on my phone to ding. It dings at 9, so it flips my brain into it's time to start shutting down for the night.
Yep.
And then like 30 minutes later, or at least by 10, I have my lamps. They automatically shut off at that point. So I'm actually have created my environment to start changing to actually lead me into going to bed. So. It's you have to be proactive. You have to identify it.
But you're taking the time.
You have to
figure that out.
You have to take the time.
You're being mentally strong,
right?
And being tough about figuring out what the best thing. I was talking with my girlfriend last night about me. I've been having a hard time falling asleep, and she just pointed at my phone, and I'm like, "Thank you. You're 100% correct."
Right.
She's like, and I'm making excuses and trying to find some other excuse, but I knew what the actual reason was.
And that's why I said, if you don't know, bring it up to somebody else. Or especially, there's a book now that's really popular called Radical Candor. And it talks about, surrounding yourself with people. Actually, just being just straight cut to the core, because that's how things really need to be, handled. And then I was trying to think where I was going to go with that as far as like being like totally like more aggressive with that. Crap, I can't remember where I was going. It was a good point.
Unedited.
Always to us, it's more fun to go about it that way. I think it was the environment. Oh, environment. If you're
lost it again?
No, I didn't lose it. I was just trying to think the best way of going it. So like, if you need to be motivated, choose the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah, it's so true.
You know, if the other people that you're spend a lot of your time with, if they're going through a lot of similar like struggles or whatever, you get around people. I mean, we don't have Tim Ferriss, right? To me, you're the biggest catalyst for me personally in the past 6 months that I've ever had in my life. So like the home fit's changed. I've made personal. I think you've had a direct influence on a lot of like positive other changes in my life that I've done. The podcast was like a 5-year dream of mine. You were like, freaking, let's do it.
Yeah, man.
Like you get around those kind of people, and I have another really close friend of mine who years ago that when I first moved, this almost kind of piggybacked when I was like really getting more into training and being more kind of passive about stuff or whatever, and I was in a weak-minded state because I'd see all these people doing these things or whatever, and then I said something to him. He was a client of mine. Now he's like one of my closest friends, and I said something. He was going to go travel somewhere, and I was like, man, I wish I could do that. And he was like, why don't you? I know it's like a kind of a simple statement, but at that moment, like I completely changed. The way I view life.
And you became mentally tough.
Yeah.
It stopped being some little...
But I was around...
Yeah.
I choose to be around people who are going to challenge me. I just let me be complacent in this life.
Well, that's a big key. That's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, but some people are stuck in environments. If you work at a building, and you're stuck in an office with the same 12 people...
Sure.
And you work 8 to 5, and you go home to your husband and your kid.
Right.
You don't see any more outside interaction.
Mm-hmm.
So that is your environment.
Right.
Either you can look at it like that.
Here's my response: change jobs.
That's right. You can look at it like that.
Yeah.
Or you could look at it as, I'm going to change jobs. I'm going to find something else.
My life's going to be rewarding.
My life's going to be better. It might suck for 3 months, but it's either you suffer for 3 or 6 months and live 50 years happy.
That's my thing. There you go. Finish that statement.
Well, that's it.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to go. Or you just going to let it just be, exactly that way.
That's when I see people that are overweight.
Yeah.
It bothers me. It pisses me off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really does. And I don't feel sorry for them.
Sure.
I know but it's it's our podcast. I don't feel sorry for them.
Yeah.
Because it's February 1st, 2019. If I saw that person that day, or even someone that's like just in a bad spot, and I see him 1 year from now and they're exactly the same, I don't feel bad for them. Because if you took as much energy as you would on anything else in your life, trying to make yourself better those next 12 months, you could literally be a different, entirely different person.
Right, yeah.
New Year's resolutions or not, keep your New Year's resolutions to yourself, just do them. Whatever. People out there, my New Year's resolutions are... like just keep your shit to yourself.
Yeah.
And just go out there and do it, because you're more than likely the one that's not going to do it.
Yeah. Well, no slack for anybody today. That's for sure.
No, I'm just speaking the truth.
No, I know what you mean, because sometimes people, and I'm always like, I don't want to ruffle feathers at the same time. And sometimes people need to hear that. You're right, and there are different approaches to different things. There's one more thing I was going to say about environment or behavior. And I think it was pertaining to actually people that that you surround yourself with and being motivating.
Cutting people out of your life.
That's changing environment. Yeah, cutting the ones that are.
And that's hard to do.
That's what I was bringing up earlier.
Yeah, and that takes mental toughness. If you have a friend that is literally bogging you down, who smokes all the time, drinks all the time, gets mixed in with drugs. I see it working with a lot of younger females. And they're out, and their friends out running around being a little nasty little thing, and they don't want to be around that anymore, but they've known them since high school. Okay, well, you have to make a decision.
Right.
If that person's friendship is worth you going down a wrong path or not.
Right.
We're not supporting what you're doing. It's better to have one friend that's supportive than 10 that are like, And
it makes me think about, as we're talking about these kind of connections and relationships, specifically for improved and enhancing your quality of life, because that truly is our bottom underlying component, is optimizing your life is what we want to do with this podcast anyway. But I hear a lot of people talk about, I need an accountability partner. If I could just find somebody to go work out with me. I've actually brought this up before. I think it was when Rick was it was his podcast. I was like, post on Facebook right now and say, hey, I need accountability partner. Yeah, you'd say go to the gym, and that's fine too. Yeah, you need to move and act.
I'm saying go to the gym and
find somebody there. That's a good point.
I mean, go in the gym, find some guy that looks really fit or some girl that looks fit, and say, hey, can I tag along with your workout? Yeah. If they say no, then find someone else.
Yeah.
And then that person's a terrible person. You don't want to be around them anyway. If someone came up to me in the gyms and some kid or overweight, underweight, doesn't matter, or some girl and says, can I tag along with you in the gym? I'm going to say, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
You're not bothering me. So that's a good way to find,
Right. And then if you're in a situation that it's just, let's say your job is different, it's inverted, your hours are different, just because we know there's different components and different capacities that you may not be able to up and do that. But, I think we talked about this too. It's you can use social media to your advantage to help hold you accountable in that respect. Because it's if you can't have somebody to go physically with you, have somebody on there hold you accountable, somebody that you got to check in with or whatever remotely, that's going to help kind of be that bug in your ear, to make those daily changes.
I completely agree.
It could be, you could have an accountability partner that just shoots you a text message that, hey, are you getting up and you're on the way to your gym today, or how'd it go?
I think if you don't have that person in your life right now, then you need to find someone.
Right. And a personal trainer is usually a good choice. But it doesn't have to be.
No. If you can't think of one person right now that does not do that for you on a semi, every other day basis, then you need to find new friends.
We also said that if you don't present it or put it out there, you don't realize the other people that's also feels the same way.
Oh, sure.
You'd be surprised how many people that say that if I only had somebody to work out with, but they don't actually present it to the world. And then they quickly realize, yeah, I've been looking for somebody for all this time. Well, you can't just say if I had somebody to work out with and then don't find somebody.
And you don't say it to anybody. But like you said, if you go on Facebook and say, I need a gym partner.
Yeah, you're going to find somebody.
You would be amazed at how many, I need a gym partner. I usually work out between X and Y.
Yeah.
People
because they're in the same boat that
they didn't have the mental toughness or to just throw it out there for the public to see.
Right.
I think that's a good point.
I mean,
so get your shit together.
See, I get nerdy when I get my first cup of coffee done. You get aggressive when you get
it is true. That's my first cup all day.
Uh-oh.
I haven't had any coffee all day.
That's what happened.
It's ridiculous.
So here we are, February 1st. Hopefully you're not going through this. If you've heard some of this stuff, maybe it ruffled a little feathers. Hopefully that's for the positive. Hopefully it gets
somebody will get something out of it.
Or if, let's say, you're on the right track, you're nodding your head and you're laughing with us in agreement, take a look around you. Think of your friends and family members who actually may fall into that gap or fallen off of that wagon, or they're tapering off of their New Year's resolutions, and reach out to them and help get them back going. Our overall reaching goal for this podcast, even though we went on a bunch of tangents and we really wanted to kind of make people move, we really wanted to kind of hit people who are kind of coming off of it and try to motivate you to keep going, to get back on track.
Right.
If you have to change your environment, if it's not working again, do it. Do whatever you need to do to achieve your goals. Make sure they're risky, not outrageous, and get out of your comfort zone, most importantly.
I think you need to stop and realize, too, it's only February 1st.
Right. It's all how you phrase it.
I mean, it's February 1st.
It's all how you phrase it. So a lot of people with the New Year's resolutions, they probably wanted to achieve their goals by the end of January.
Right.
And they didn't necessarily achieve them, so now they think the whole year is shot.
And they're gonna, I mean, we all acknowledge that January had 87 days in it. We get it and we understand.
Right. That's the way it
feels. February, it's only, the year is 1/12 of the way done. So there's a lot of shit that's going to happen, ebbs and flows, ups and downs, goods, bads, that'll happen the next 11 months. Is how you handle them.
Well, yeah, you may not always be able to control, but you can always control how you handle it or how you respond to it. Also, I would say that in line with that, failure. So a lot of people, I think, associate I failed. I didn't achieve my goal. So what's worth the point? I think if you disassociate, even though I'm always about putting emotion into things, I think if you detach emotion from the word failure, you're going to be a lot more successful in life, because failure is just feedback.
Sure.
It actually lets you know, okay, why did I hit my goal?
Yeah.
I didn't do it because maybe I went too hard, or I didn't have accountability, or I did let life get back in my way, or maybe my goal was way too lofty. I need to revisit it and pivot and continue on something that's much more short-term achievable.
Right.
Like, failure is feedback. You have the mentality, there's a lot of things in your life you're going to be able to continue moving forward and not go back to your complacency.
I think everyone should reach for failure.
I agree with that. That's my thing, is I'm not afraid to fail.
Well, let's say you look at it and say that you want to run a marathon this year. Let's say you run a marathon in March. Well, let's say you wanted to run a half marathon. You run a half marathon in March. And let's say, so boom, you already achieved it. So you're like, oh, I want to run a full. Mm-hmm. You run a full in September. And let's say you decide that I want to run a Ironman, but you didn't finish it.
Right.
You failed,
yeah.
But you accomplished your first goal and your second goal in order to fail.
Right.
So failure is like, I think you should keep raising your bar until you literally fail.
A lot of people say fail fast, and sometimes people don't really know how to respond to that. But that just means you're trying things. And,
you're trying.
That's the thing. If you have, let's say, if you sit down and be like, how many things have I failed in my life? And if it's a few, that means you're not living your life to your full capacity, because unless you're trying new things, unless you're trying to improve or trying to change or adapt and actually have those failures, it definitely, if you don't push for those, you're not going to have any more achievements under your belt. You're just going to be riding the same
and that's when you get complacent and you get.
That's not the way to live. You don't get that many. We don't get that many years.
That's right. I think failure is I think everyone should fail all the time.
Right.
Because your goals are so lofty that they're almost impossible to get to, or they're going to continue to take more time. Like for that example, let's say you do end up running a full Ironman. Mm-hmm. But then you're like, I want to go run out these crazy races and do a marathon every day in 10 days.
Right.
But you don't do it.
Right.
Well, you still got your half full and then your Ironman, and those are all accomplishes.
Yeah. And those are like really, like you said, really extreme goals. And there's some people that's just
even if it's
freaks them out.
If you want to build a business, and you set a goal to make $50,000 the first year, well, you get $50,000 by January, but you're like, I'm gonna push for 75,
sure,
but you don't get it. It's okay.
Yeah,
you made over 50.
Right.
You failed at your second goal, or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is perspective.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing. I tell myself for sure, like, I am a man of perspective. There's a reason I can like completely change my mentality about a situation or a person or whatever. The more details that I know. Same concept on the business, launch, for people. Let's say they want to launch a business, make $50,000. If they don't launch the business, they're going to make nothing.
That's right. If you fail, you launch a business. Well, then you just got.
You've attempted. How many people can say that they actually tried to start a business?
Sure.
Anyway.
But it's true though, man. I think failure's not a bad thing.
No, I think that could be a whole another depth of a podcast for sure, as far as like just the capacity of how failure.
And if you think you failed your New Year's resolution yet, then you're literally disgustingly wrong.
Right.
How could you fail a New Year's resolution
when you got 11 more months? When you got 11 more months to go. Yeah.
People get so discouraged about it. Do you think you're going to be perfect all year? Yeah. Like mine in January was intermittent fasting and no sugar. I did the no sugar. I didn't do intermittent fasting 3 times.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You got to give yourself. That's another thing too, and that's really big on like that planner that I use. You got to give yourself partial credit is better than no credit.
Yeah.
It don't have to be all or nothing, because life is not. Even if you are doing everything right, you may not always be able to control external things that's going to happen.
Some shit's going to happen.
And then that's one of the whole like the trans-theoretical model. It's like a lot of people they have adopted this behavior, but something has happened in their life that they couldn't control that's kind of bounced them back to what makes them feel like square one.
Yeah.
But you have to hold on to the achievements that you made to get there in order to
100%.
Re-get to where you want to go. So anyway, man, this one was This one was stout. Here we were thinking that, we were going to be like, it's okay that you failed. Apparently everybody's weak. Yeah. And everybody just has 11 more months to get things done.
Yeah, so get off your ass and go do it. But it's lack of planning. It's being mentally tough.
Right.
Understanding that you are weak in a lot of areas. Everyone's weak in a lot of areas in your life. Either you work on it or you let it just kind of...
Identify it. Be true to yourself. Identify what you need to do. List out what you can do today or this week to start making those changes. And you're not going to regret it. You're not going to regret taking action on.
But there's literally nothing but good things that can happen.
Right, and that's what we want for you guys. I know sometimes we kind of get one way or the other. If there's any ways,
man, don't worry about it.
Oh, I know. If there's any way that we can do to help you, let us know. Feel free to comment, share some things. Let us know about your failures. Things that you've overcome. You'd be surprised at how just one little comment or story can impact somebody else and even change their life. And so another reason we pulled the trigger on this podcast was just to be another avenue for people to kind of connect and improve. And you deserve the best, and we want the best for you.
Amen.
All right. Thanks,
guys. Thanks for listening.